From the East Coast to the West Coast, we are everywhere true crime is. We are asking for the public's help. We are searching in the woods. We are doing what it takes here on the Bullhorn Betty channels to find answers to the most alarming cases we have been watching on the news. I can tell you personally that I have traveled this entire country seeking these answers and bringing that content right here to you here on the Bullhorn Betty channels and Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories. We are happy with the work that we've done. We brought many answers to the public, and we have defied mainstream media in our pursuit of the truth in these cases. We will continue to work. We will continue to fight for these victims, and we will continue to tell their stories here on my channels. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty brand of channels and the Coffee Club. Thank you for your love, thank you for your support, and more importantly, thank you for allowing me to bring these victims' stories to each and every one of you, advocating for each of these victims. God bless you, God bless America, and more importantly, God bless our victims. Well, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Sorry, I was trying to get my background. If I'm a little hazy, it's because I got a window behind me and it's getting light out, and I started my live a little late this morning, but it's Saturday. I was up until 2:30 last night. I don't know. I was so tired. You know, when we did the last live last night, I was so stinking tired, and I still had to upload it. Hey, Monica, it's nice to see you, my love. I still had to upload it, and I didn't go to bed, or I don't even think it was over until after midnight on YouTube. And I was yawning through the whole entire thing, could hardly keep my eyes open. And then as soon as it was over, I was wide awake. I was freaking, how does that happen? I couldn't go to sleep. And I'm looking over at the cold cup of coffee next to me, you know, last night while this is going on a premiere in YouTube or on YouTube. And I'm sitting there yawning. I'm looking at that cup of coffee. I'm like, no, I don't want to be up. You know, I don't want to stay up. You know, this is a temporary thing. I don't want to stay up. Don't want to stay up. And then I ended up staying awake. I almost feel like if I would have drank the cup of coffee, I would have been asleep. I don't know. Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see you guys all coming in. Rise and shine. Happy Saturday. You guys survived Friday night. So, hey, that's good. That's good. Mine was not eventful, which really sucked for staying up at 2:30. Oh, good Lord. And the sun is shining from the UK. It's nice to see you. So before we get into like Sebastian Rogers and chatting about that, I wanted to go over a few other cases we've been covering just to give you guys an update. We still love all of our cases, and we still have avocation for all of our cases. So we're going to start out this morning with Elijah Vu. Elijah Vu is the 3-year-old that's missing from Two Rivers, Wisconsin. He was seen last on video on February 16th around 2 to 3 o'clock at a Napa auto parts store in Two Rivers, just not too far from where Jesse Vang resided. Jesse Vang is the mom's, I don't know if you want to call him pimp, boyfriend, whatever he is, was teaching this 3-year-old boy how to be a man, and made him stand in corners for hours. And one of the images that they found on his mother's phone was very, very, very alarming. We'll leave it at that for the purposes of TikTok. I can say a little more on YouTube than I can say here, but that's the gist of it. This is the wild thing. Like, they have his stepmother, Katrina Bauer. Was it Bauer? I think it's Bauer. Katrina Bauer and Jesse Vang behind bars for negligent charges, because that's what they can charge them with. That's what they have evidence for, so that's what they went ahead to put them behind bars. in an effort to elicit information about this young boy's whereabouts, which has all been has not produced fruit. It's been fruitless. And so they're going to court for that. But this is the crazy thing. This case here, they haven't stopped efforts for. He went missing in February. They still have efforts going as we speak right now in this young boy's disappearance. So I wanted to, let me get back here to my, so I just wanted to read, because there are some things that law enforcement had to address related to social media. So I just wanted to read just a couple things here, just so everybody's aware of what law enforcement wants to get out to the public. It's been nearly 3 months since Wisconsin toddler Elijah Vu disappeared in a mystery that continues to spur headlines. But in recent update, authorities said while Elijah remains missing, they wanted to be clear some rumors about the case. In a social media post last week, Captain Andrew Ratz with the Two Rivers Police Department said the search for Elijah remains ongoing, but allegations that the department has stopped a particular group from taking part in the search efforts are untrue. Recent rumors have been spread primarily on social media that we have not allowed an organization called Midwest EquiSearch to take part in search efforts. That is incorrect, misleading, and serves as a distraction away from the efforts from Elijah Ratz said. We have been in contact with many volunteer search organizations as we work hand in hand to coordinate efforts. So again, it sounds like, social media, this is the ugly side of it. I wish people would get some information before they make the accusation. It is one of these things where social media has a tendency to have a bad telephone problem. You say one thing and it ends another way, and that could very well be the case. But obviously, the search efforts have never stopped for Elijah. That's one of the beautiful things about Two Rivers, Wisconsin, is that they've never stopped search efforts for this young boy. One other case that we've covered on here, it's been quite a while. This is Madalena Kojakari. She was a 13-year-old girl that disappeared from Cornelius, North Carolina. I have talked to you guys about her recently in an effort to explain the lack of signage in Sebastian Rogers' neighborhood, because, like I said, there was big, beautiful bows and ribbons. When I went and visited this case here in Cornelius, North Carolina, I went and visited there when both her parents were still behind bars. Her mom, Diana, and her stepfather, so that's Diana Kojakari. This is her stepfather, Christopher Palmater. As you can see, he looks pretty rough. He took a long drive the day she disappeared, to Michigan to collect some items because him and his wife got into an argument. She also took a trip someplace in North Carolina, which is really odd. So they can't produce their daughter. The daughter disappeared back in 2022. She was last seen on her school bus on November 21st, 2022, exiting, getting off, and going home. Her mother, Diana, said that she was not, the last time she saw her was November 23rd around 10 p.m. But here's the kicker. She didn't go to school. The school resource officer was knocking at the door, wanting to know where Madalena was at. And her mother was home and refused to answer the door. So finally, the school basically said, if you do not produce your daughter, we're calling the law. And then they finally reported Madalena, and it wasn't even, I don't even think it was her mother that called it in. She went to the school and told the school that she had not seen her, that her daughter had run away, and this was some 10 days later. And so the school is what called law enforcement about Madalena. So she is still missing. Her stepfather is out. I don't know about her mom. Her mom sounds like she's still in the jail. But I saw that there was a 1-year milestone coming up for Madalena, and it came across my reel. So I just wanted to remind everybody out there on social media that we have this beautiful 13-year-old girl that's been missing for a really long time. Her name is Madalena Kojakari. She could be anywhere between North Carolina and Michigan. and maybe further. So for all my peeps out there, please be on the lookout for her. Now, Sebastian Rogers, he is, let me just turn this around. I'm probably going to get a little more hazy as I turn this camera because this, let me see if I can turn it just this way. Maybe this will be better. No, it's not going to be better. Okay, sorry guys. You're just going to have to see me hazy for a second because I need to get out of the way. So this right here is Sebastian Rogers. He's the 15-year-old autistic. Hey, it's nice to see you. Thank you, Rachel. He's a 15-year-old autistic boy missing from Hendersonville, Tennessee. He hasn't been seen or heard from since the evening of February 25th when he went to bed at 9 p.m. His mother says she heard a thud around 10 p.m. but did not look in on him. And when she awoke at 6 a.m. the next morning, he was gone. He was nowhere to be found. She states that all the doors were locked in the house, leading her to believe that he must have left willingly through the front door. Since then, the parents have come under heavy scrutiny for a variety of reasons. Most notably, I think it's their behavior and their appearance of lack of actually, caring for their missing son. It seems like everything else is more of a priority for this family than actually their son. So there is a vigil that is going to be going on. It sounds like there's going to be a motorcycle type of rally, or not rally, but I don't know, car, what do they call it? Car train thing. But it's going to be motorcycles. So they're going to be meeting tomorrow at 4 p.m. at Rutter's at 128 River Road, and that is in Hendersonville, Tennessee. They're going to be starting their engines around 5 p.m., and they are going to be making their way from Rutter's over to Beach High School. Beach High School is the high school where Sebastian Rogers went. Thank you, Christina. A motorcade. They're going to be doing a motorcade and starting the engines around 5 p.m. They'll be out at the high school. I didn't realize this, but it looks like there's going to be a cookout in his honor at this vigil. So they've already got 300 people signed up so far for the ride through the community. And if anybody else would like to join, if you're out there, if you just want to show support for Team Sebastian, for Sebastian's Army, consider going out there and spending time. In times like this, everybody just needs a lot of support. Telling somebody that you're sorry what they're going through in a time like this really does help fuel them to continue to go. You guys don't understand how it's important those things are to people. I can tell you, out of all the families, one of the things is the community support that really does get these families that are truly struggling through all of these issues. And I really do believe that this boy needs to be found, and I do believe he's out there. I know that the people have mixed bag of feelings on, whether, something's happened to him gravely or whether he's still okay. A lot of people have a mixed bag on what happened and who may have done what, myself included. I'm a very opinionated person, and when I see things, I see things. It just is what it is. But at the end of the day, with all of that, we have to remember this boy is still out there somewhere, and avocation is key. And why is avocation so important? It's because we don't know where people have been. We don't know, where people move about. Think about all the places that you've been probably in the last, since this boy has been missing, right? Some of you guys probably have been from one state to another and back. There's probably people around his community that are around that have done the same thing. And like I said, avocation is not just about being out in the woods and searching and racking your heads and spending thousands of dollars to travel and, go out there and hunt and stuff like that. It doesn't need to be like that. It can be very, very simple. Just print out a flyer and go out your front door and stick it on your own utility pole. Because you never know who's going to be driving by. You never know. You never know. So we have to, be advocating for this child. If people know things, or know, the key players of this case, if you know something about the key players of this case that might be beneficial, like a behavior, or maybe they told you something that they like doing, or a favorite place they like going, or a story that you heard, anything. You never know. When we talk about these, we never know who's going to be inside these chat rooms. We never know who's going to have what information. We never know. That's why we come live, is because we want people, whenever they see something, they say something. And we hope that that may lead to finding the whereabouts of this young boy. This boy is out there. A lot of people have had some major suggestions on places to search and things like that. So I'm really kind of, getting excited, because I kind of feel like, this black cloud that's been over me in my car, I feel like something has to break soon, So I know I'm going to be getting out there soon, and I want to search. But it's like, we're all so mixed up on our theories and our maps and stuff like that, and law enforcement, of course, has just absolutely made it a point that I'm kind of a mixed bag with the whole, why is law enforcement not telling us anything, I understand that this is an don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. I understand that this is a major investigation, probably large, probably one of the largest that this community has had to deal with, probably to date, or at least for a significant number of years. There may have been some other things, but even those other things, I don't know if they've rose to this level, or if they have, how many years it has been since they rose to the level of this case here. But there is a need, and I know I've said this a lot and probably sound like a broken record, but there is a need for public relations. The need for public relations in law enforcement is in my opinion, a two-part process, or a two-part relief or benefit. Okay, it gives the public something to gnaw on while relieving stresses from law enforcement. And so it does have its benefit, but it does have its downsides too, because by doing, people will, want to say more questions in. Say they make a statement, right? They make a statement publicly on a press release, and now people have questions on that. So now it is creating where their phones are now ringing and emails are provided, or they end up giving, having a million freaking messages under it, right? So I think they're doing, I see both sides of it, but I still believe that, this is a 15-year-old boy, and he has disappeared, and he has been gone for a significant number of years. And, bringing everybody back to this case and what truly matters, and law enforcement leading that presence to do so, I think would go a long way to changing some of this created drama, if you will, right? When a case isn't really, there's no new news in it, people start creating the news, right? There's a few people that are very, very good at that task of creating news. And I feel like that's what's going on here, is that the news is now going to start being created by a bunch of drama. And I really do, I see it, it's already happening. So I really would like, at least law enforcement to give a nugget of something to someone, because this is the thing. I like Nick Barris. I really do. And I think Nick Barris is a wonderful person, a wonderful journalist. He really hones in on a lot of issues. He became very notable in this in this case because he stepped on toes. He got us that video of the light sources. Remember, he's the one that was able to break that to the world, really. And law enforcement basically said that video had no evidentiary value, that the timing was wrong, and that it was basically a garbage truck. Okay, that is what law enforcement led the public to believe about those lights. However, when overlays were added, it was very clear that these light sources came from a patch of grass. You know, a patch of grass. Gail, unfortunately, I'm going to have to, I would really like you to remove that comment. I don't want that man's name in my chat. I have no respect for him. So just respect me if you don't mind. But they're saying to Nick Barris, let me read this stuff to you from Nick Barris, because it's like, you know, I'm having, because of the silence of law enforcement and because they've deceived us already in this case, they've already intentionally misinformed the public. I feel like I don't know how I truly feel about the information that they're giving him, if that makes sense. I really don't understand the information, you know, if they're leading him on. I believe what he's putting out is true. But my problem is that we've been misled before. It's been way too long for this sweet boy. Yeah, it has. That's okay, Gail. That's okay. You're good. You're good, love. I just don't like him. I have no respect for him. I think he's creating a whole bunch of nonsense for clicks and views, because there's no other reason. We know who to focus on, and that's the furthest thing from this group. So it just makes you wonder why. So here's what was said. More rumors run rampant. I appreciate the fact that so many of you continue to show interest in Sebastian Rogers' case, and you message me with questions. The 15-year-old autistic boy has been missing for more than 2 months from his Hendersonville, Tennessee home. Vanished and not a trace found despite massive search efforts. Authorities say there is no evidence of foul play, though they have not ruled it out. In the absence of any new development, armchair detectives on social media and podcasts create their own fiction. And I also appreciate so many of you contacting me to ask if any of it is true. You can trust I'll give it to you straight. So what are a couple of the latest doozies? And I also want to let you know, he also, up until, even though we had reports from North Carolina that Sebastian Rogers, that sighting of him in North Carolina was not him, and it was confirmed by law enforcement. It was confirmed by the North Carolina ones, and it still took Eric Craddock almost an additional 24 hours to release that to Nick Barris. So there was another new, even though Nick was on this case and had been stuck on this case, another news organization ended up releasing the breaking news that it was not Sebastian, because Nick was still waiting on Eric to respond to him. So, there is that. And again, this is leading me to say, hey, wait a minute. I got questions. And I'm sorry. I want to start hearing some of this stuff coming from the sheriff. I'm tired of it being funneled through Nick, because I don't know what Nick is asking these people. I don't know if he's asking tough questions. I don't know if he's really just saying, hey, any new updates, right? Or if he's saying, hey, dude, why aren't you guys giving anybody any updates? It's been a significant amount of time. Are you planning on giving a press conference or a press release or anything like that? We don't know what Nick is asking him. And I know he's a true professional, but I also know he's mainstream media, and I also know he works for a company. And companies have a way to control their employees from stepping on too much toes. And one of the reasons why I don't like mainstream media, because they will shut a reporter down. They will fire a reporter to contain a story on behalf of somebody they perceive as a friendly. It's a part of the business I don't like. It's a part of the business I don't like. So, investigators have obtained new videos showing Sebastian alive. Excuse me. So And I also appreciate many of you contacting me to see if any of this is true. You can trust, I will give it to you straight. So, and this is factual, right? Law enforcement hasn't released any of this stuff. So, what are a couple of the latest doozies? Investigators have obtained new video showing Sebastian alive on February 26 when he disappeared. He says, nope. There is evidence showing Sebastian was in contact with his grandmother on his mother's side before his disappearance. They said, nope. How do I know? I've been in direct contact with the lead investigator with Sumner County Sheriff, who says the latest stuff is all garbage. I wonder if it's as much garbage as the garbage truck theory in the middle of Apache Grass Knoll. You know, I've got questions. I'm just saying. I'm not calling anybody a liar. I'm not saying anybody is a liar until I get all the facts. Because I can tell you, we were told that that video was the lights on a garbage truck. And that had came from law enforcement. Would they like to have new leads? You bet they respond to all tips, but they deal with facts. So do I. Do authorities tell us everything they have in a case? No. But they won't lie and say something is false if it isn't. Again, garbage truck. Just saying. They will simply say no comment. Hopefully there will be a credible break in the case soon. Until then, please be very skeptical of stunning new developments unless they come from credible official sources. The problem is I don't consider somebody, I want to hear, what if they can give information to Nick Barris, they can put a press conference together or a press release together for the public. It's not that difficult. It really is not. And they're refusing to do it, and they're funneling stuff through Nick, and I'm sorry. If Nick makes a mistake, it doesn't matter, right? We all just made a mistake because we followed blindly with Nick. I want to hear it from an official source, not a reliable one. An official one. And so far, we've had no official reports. Nick is not an official report. He can tell you what he talked about, but he's not official. It needs to be a press release. So this catering to maybe one news outlet as opposed to anybody else, I find pretty problematic myself. And it seems like all information is being funneled through one person now, and that's Nick Barris. There is no national news really covering this right now. There's a whole host of social media people covering it, and I can start seeing the disdain that maybe Nick is having for social media because he was more appreciative of social media, like, say, I don't know, a week ago, and now it's the armchair detectives. So I understand that it gets a little nerve-wracking and racking your head against the wall, but I don't know if anybody ever said that the information about the grandmother came from them. I don't know. I didn't really hear. The stuff I heard was a little choppy because I wasn't in the live that night. But again, I do believe that law enforcement has told us a lot. I think the most notable out of everything is in the information that was released. And I was very cautious on how I released that information that was said on the live, because I made sure I said it seems to imply that it came from video. We don't know where it came from, but we definitely appear to have known. And I do believe that law enforcement did say that within 72 hours, the case took a 180 degree turn. We don't know what enlightened law enforcement to take that 180 degree turn in the case. So they believed that this boy was a runaway at first, and then the runaway turned into a missing person. They couldn't find the runaway child. And then, from that missing person, I don't think they were anticipating on pulling it from the missing person, but apparently within 3 days, there was something that happened. And I feel, we need to go back. I wish somebody would have done a timeline sooner, because it's going to be a little bit more difficult. It still can be done, obviously, but it's going to be more difficult. But when did they start going to the landfill? Let's see. When did they start their landfill search? Hold on here. Sebastian Rogers. When did the landfill search start in the Sebastian Rogers case? It looks like March 7th. So almost 2 weeks. What would they have found? Yeah, it was like 2 weeks. Yeah, they said March 7th. I got stuff for March 7th from the news. March 7th, it looks like. And that's when they went to the Kentucky landfill. What would have happened? How long would it take to get a search warrant? The probable cause. They could probably have that turned around if they had what they needed within 24 hours. So 3 days. 3 days. What happened in 3 days? I'm probably going to have to do some actual research on this. I'm going to have to probably do some research on this, because the first 3 days there would have been news. There would have been mainstream media out there monitoring this case. Like, literally, this would have been a missing boy, a missing autistic boy. This would have been good news for that area. And so I have to think that, and then pulling up and seeing all that police activity. With all that police activity ongoing, they would have kept a news reporter from all their stuff until the cavalry died down, which it doesn't seem like it did for a really long time. So they would have had news reporters out there all day long. So yeah, we should be able to go back to some of the original news and start listening to all the news. We need to focus on the first 3 days. There's something key in one of those news clips. There's something key in those news clips. We need to find it. If that's true, if that statement's true, which the way that kid explained it, it did sound like word salad to me. It sounded like something a law enforcement agent would tell him, because he danced around whether or not this was a criminal investigation, and that's what really kind of enlightened me, that I truly believe that Crabtree guy, at least that statement might have been absolutely true. Again, like I said, I don't know these people, so I would never call anybody a liar that I don't know. I'm not in their shoes. I wasn't with them. I don't know. And until somebody can bring me receipts that it's untrue, I'm going to believe them. I have no reason not to. Miss Robbins says, the garbage man said the garbage receptacles was heavier than usual. Did they find that out within 3 days? Because, the landfill, taking 2 weeks to get out to the landfill, to be honest with you, that could be red tape in court proceedings, that we don't know about. Because they seal a lot of this stuff. All this stuff, there's stuff probably being filed in a court case somewhere, in an action somewhere, that's completely sealed from anybody. Nobody has it except the parties involved in that case, because of the significance of the particular case. So I keep wondering, did it take them 2 weeks to get the search warrant to go out to the landfill? Or did they try a diplomatic process of talking to Kentucky, and Kentucky saying, we ain't letting you in here until you get a court order? Or maybe because it was over state lines, they really needed to have a court order in order to do it. And maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was the processing time for the court order in, say, Kentucky, to process that. So there could, you know what, Miss Robin, you might be spot on with that. It may have been something just like that. It may have been something just like that. He was a new employee. How long was he there? If you know, and I believe, Amy, I think you're talking about Chris. He was a new employee. I think that's what you're saying. Can you tell me, if you know how long he's been there, tell me how long he's worked for his job. If you're talking about Seth, let me know the same. Whoever you're talking about, let me know who you're talking about and how long that they've worked for their job. It's a new garbage man, not the original one. Interesting. Then the whole landfill fire. The landfill fire was interesting, because I'm not, when it comes to these true crime cases, I don't like really being a conspiracy theorist. I like theorizing on facts and speculating on the true facts to derive, maybe we can find a missing puzzle piece or, derive some new information, or at least, see the weight of what different theories may work or whatnot like that. But I got to tell you, when that landfill fire happened, my brain went straight, I'm not lying, straight to conspiracy theorist. I started thinking, I wonder if this is a distraction, like a decoy. We've been talking a lot about decoys because we're dealing with military people. And I keep wondering, did they have to create this fire or make it big enough so it was noticeable for the media to explain why they were all at the landfill as kind of like a secret op? And I'm sorry, but I don't think like that normally. But it did cross my mind when I saw that fire, because we were all it was just so weird, because the topic of conversation that was all over social media at the time that this fire started happening was actually about the garbage, and about why did they go over to Kentucky, because the Kentucky was really the construction site's garbage, not the Proudfoot's garbage. And there was a garbage man in the Proudfoot's neighborhood that said that the garbage felt heavier than normal, and that and that garbage would have went over to a different landfill, one in Tennessee, I think Nashville or Gallatin. I don't know the landfill, so don't quote me on it. Do your own research if you need to know the specific landfill. I'll say a Tennessee landfill, a closer landfill than Kentucky. And so it just so happens that right when we're having all of these conversations, the landfill we were just talking about catches on fire. And I think that's the reason why I never get conspiracy theories, but I just got it just popped in my head, and it was gnawing at me for a while too. It was gnawing at me for a while. We said that, Amy, it kind of sucks, and I hate saying this, but we said that about Summer Wells too, to be honest with you, honey bunny. We said we are not going to let, and granted, we have not forgotten Summer Wells. You know what I'm saying? We talk about her. I'm still creating a mini documentary on her. I had to set that aside for a little bit, but I got to go back to the drawing board, because I've got I've got to now create the second, some more sections. I'm doing them in sections, so I get my sections crafted the way I want, and then I'll seam them together. So it's, we haven't forgotten about her even after 3 years, but the attention on her has definitely died down to an all-time low, in my opinion, and it kind of sucks. I love Summer Wells. I couldn't believe, we uncovered so much about the behaviors of her mom and stepfather, and the picture was painted very early on for me in the Summer Wells case, and I've given Don so many opportunities just to help, and he hasn't. And I finally did have a face-to-face with him. And, all the times I've wanted to have a face-to-face with him, I wanted to be recorded, but I had an opportunity to have a face-to-face with him, but I didn't record it because I knew it would cause problems, and I really just wanted to have the conversation. I didn't want anything distracting from the conversation, because I really wanted to find out. He knows that Don knows I've been on his daughter's case for a really long time. He knows that I have pushed for answers for a really long time, And so he's finally come down and talked to me. And I did ask him, I'm like, my biggest problem is, every time we get into the case, every time I do research on the case from the beginning to now, everything always comes back to this house. I said, can you explain that to me? And he couldn't. And I said, and the other thing is that, unfortunately, it keeps coming back to the same players, in this house as that's the names just keep coming up. So it keeps coming back to this house and it keeps coming back to you guys. I said, is there anybody else? Is there anybody else I can search? Do you guys have any idea? It's been 3 years. I'm sure you've had to go over this case over and over and over again by now. Has anybody new popped up to you? And he said, no. And I said, well, Don, this is, we're kind of in a pickle here because, everything's coming back to this house. Everything's coming back to you and your wife. And you yourself say you have no other people to look at or to investigate. How do we explain all this? And he couldn't, and I can tell you that time, and it was within the last, when was the last time? It was last year, just right at the end of the year. It was right around Christmas time, like November, October, or something like that. I spoke to. I don't know. My mods might remember. I don't remember. It was recent, and that was the first time I think I've ever seen Don Wells sober. I've never seen Don Wells sober, and he was sober. And to be honest with you, he was a chill guy. When I was having a conversation, I kept my glasses on, and I was monitoring him. He was very clever in how he answered my questions. He had a craft of not answering the question, but answering the question he wanted to answer. I observed a lot of stuff, and then I also, during those conversations, observed him, basically distancing himself from Summer Wells. For example, when I talked to him about Summer Wells being a daddy's girl, it was, oh, no, Joe, no, she's a mama's girl. And so it was never like that before. And so that's distancing for me. And I don't know why he did that, but he did in that time when I was talking to him. And that is a problem for me personally, when he made that statement. So maybe something's hidden under a pile or a pile of trash. Might be. Tick-tock. Tick-tock, tick-tock. No judge is giving a search warrant because the trash was heavy. Yeah, you know what, Ashley? I think you might be right. That is pretty, probable cause is low anyways. But I think you might have something though, Ashley. It might be a little too low. You know what I'm saying? A little too low. No, it was the typical garbage man, that route. Okay, I think she's talking about the garbage truck. And our garbage trucks around, but see, I don't know Hendersonville, because I know places have different garbage trucks, different capabilities. Like our garbage trucks around here have the arms, like we have special garbage cans that the arms come out and pick up and dump in. Maybe maybe we don't know the capabilities of these new trucks. Maybe when it grabs the garbage can, maybe it weighs it. Maybe they're digital. Wouldn't that be a little wild? Wouldn't that be a little wild if the garbage trucks if those little arms actually weighted? That's too Big Brotherish for me. But maybe they have to do that to know when the trucks are full, when they're at their capacity. But that would be wild to say that, because I don't know traditional garbage trucks picking up garbage cans anymore. They have those arms. I don't know. Maybe. I'm from where the landfill fire was. That has happened before. And if you could see the place, not if the truck has the arms and grab. Yeah, that's what I was talking about, the arms and grabs. But you know what? to be honest with you, these trucks, I know that like the new trucks, they even have cameras in the back. And this is how I found that out. I found it by normal, garbage man, homeowner dispute issues. Right? I was out there. And the recycling guy, man, he was a grumpy man. Like, he was just a nasty guy. He did not like his job. I mean, I still think you should, no matter what job you got, I think you can make any job enjoyable. I mean, I can't imagine what it's, it must suck driving around a truck and, dumping, recycling stuff. But apparently he must get in trouble at work if he puts stuff in his, which I think is BS. He shouldn't be getting in trouble for what people put in the garbage cans. But apparently, I had something in the garbage can I wasn't supposed to have. I think it was paint or something. I can't remember what it was. And he gets out of the truck and starts a cussing. And I just happened to be outside. And he's like, "You can't put this shit in here." And I said, "Excuse me?" And he's like, "Yeah, I went to dump this." He goes, "You don't understand. I get in trouble." And I'm like, that's not my problem. First of all, I'm sorry for my oversight. Can I help you? And he was telling me that there's cameras in the back and they monitor it. They can't if they'll get in trouble if they bring hazardous something. Maybe it was regular, maybe it wasn't recycled, maybe it was regular, and it was I threw a paint bucket in there or something. It was empty, but it had its lid on it. So he ended up taking it out. He couldn't take it. I have to remove the lid. It's like, it was stupid. It was stupid. But apparently they have cameras in the back that can see the garbage going in. That's how I learned about it. Let's see what else we got in here. Yes, they have cameras when they throw it in. Yeah. Paint will start a fire, Florida heat. Yeah. I remember it being something with a paint can. And I knew that the paint can was empty, but it's because the lid was on the paint can. And he can't take the lid off. So he has to remove the paint can. He can tell it's empty, but it's their rules. And so that's what it was. So all I needed to do was I put the paint lid on, I didn't know better. So I just pulled the paint lid off. It was dried on the inside. I just threw them both, two separate pieces, in the garbage and had no problem. So, that's kind of where it's at. So I mean, with the garbage can theory or the garbage truck theory, I mean, we don't know anything about their garbage trucks. We don't know if they had those capabilities. If Sebastian was in a receptacle somewhere, would they have seen him? He's 5'5", 120 pounds. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Because we don't know what he was in. Could he have been in a duffel bag? Could he have been in an old suitcase? Could he have been, I mean, we don't know. We don't know. I just know something ain't sitting right with this case. I don't believe this boy just walked out of his home. I know a lot of people think that, I mean, anything's obviously plausible in this case because we really don't know. And there are a lot of theories, and they are, paying heavy attention of him walking out the door. But I just feel like something happened inside that home. I don't know. Katie is she's starting to be more and more problematic for me as we have more and more information being confirmed behind the scenes, such as Chris Proudfoot being at work at 5:15. So if he's at work at 5:15, then obviously we have to deduct 3.5 hours away because he would have, that's literally the length of time it takes him to get to work. We also have to look at it from Kathy Bowersock's home too, because if something did happen, I would think that if he was in Memphis when something happened and Katie's here at the house when something happened, it seems like, it seems like the command center, so to speak, the reasonable place for that wouldn't be at their home. It would be at the Bowersocks. So it in the Bower Sox obviously is more toward Memphis. So it could explain if we can figure out what the calculation is from their home in his mom's home in Gallatin to his job. We can also deduct that way, because we have to use multiple different calculations because we don't know where they were. But I just, there's a nagging feeling in me that kind of feels like this 3 o'clock flashlight or that light event behind their house. I mean, it could be going away, but for whatever reason, I feel like they're coming back at that time, because I really feel that something major happened to Sebastian earlier that night. And I feel like there are key times, but I feel like those key times aren't what those key times are. We heard key times at first that have never changed. What are those key times? We've heard 9 and midnight. Those are the 2 times that have never changed from story to story. We've had a 10 o'clock and of course 6 a.m., right? 9, 12, 6 a.m. Those are the 3 main times that have been perpetuated in this case over and over again. Now, other times have been added. For example, the thud, the 10 p.m. thud. But that was never maintained from the beginning. The only times that were maintained since the beginning is the time he went to bed, the time she went to bed, and the time she found out that he was missing. Those were the 3. That was why 10-3. Yeah. So those are the 3 times that have all never changed. So I feel like those are important. I feel like 9 might have been when something broke off. 10 is when everything started getting in place, or it's not 10. 12 is when everything started getting in place to start clean up whatever needed to be done. They started, I feel like it's midnight, and I feel like around 3, a little after 3 was when everything that took place needed to take place. Katie's going home. Chris is heading to work. This is one theory I'm developing. It's not holding water yet, but it is plausible, and it's putting Katie as being the only person that something could have happened with. It would explain why 9 o'clock was when Sebastian went to bed, and the same time she started having a phone call conversation with her husband for 3 hours, roughly the time it takes him to get home. So I know that a lot of people are noticing these glaring, issues that are in the case, but I think there are some very important things. I think it's the time. Those 3 times are very key, because those are the 3 that have never changed since the beginning of the story. There's a lot of changes that happen, but those 3 changes have not happened. Chris was very adamant about going and getting his camper, so that leads me to believe very shortly after Sebastian went missing. It was odd to be concerned about a camper at the time he was dealing with his missing son. I don't know of any employer that would put an additional stress on an employee when they're dealing with something like a missing child. I don't know how heartless a corporation could ever be to an employee, even a horrible employee. I've never heard that in my life. I don't know. I've never heard that in my life. A situation like this, everybody's a freaking parent. An employee or a manager that you just can't stand would never give you a hard time when it comes to children. I have never in my life. And so because of that makes the camper key for me. The other thing is when she called her husband, the 3 minutes after she awoke and Sebastian wasn't in the house. Why did it take them, if she was only out traveling the neighborhood for only 10 minutes, why did it take them 33 minutes to call this in? So there are a lot of questions that I still have related to this case. A lot of key questions related to factual information that we know for a fact that has come from official and reliable sources. But we need to be looking at that because he's still missing. We're never going to find him without knowing where certain people were at, because at the end of the day, this child went missing from one specific location with one specific person around him. Those are the facts. And there were suspicious lights on the backside of his house leading into a construction site. Around 3 o'clock in the morning. So we have weird phenomenons happening on the same night that a boy disappears. And law enforcement is telling us that there's no evidentiary value and that those lights mean nothing. And that we're taking it out of context and it's just a garbage truck. And this is the same person that slow walked the identity of the North Carolina kid. And this is the same person that is now telling us that I don't know why they would be not forthcoming, but we have conflicting information on the date that this boy disappeared. And what do I mean by that? Well, on one document, let me see if I can find it. On one document, and it says endangered person document, I'm pretty sure it says he disappeared on the 26th. But I'm going to go to the official document, not anybody else's, and we'll look at the official document. But I've got so many screenshots here, you're just going to have to bear with me while I look for it. We'll review it. Here it is. See? Missing since February... Oh, that's my hat. Since February 26th. So missing since February 26th, okay? Now, I'm going to have to show you this because I don't have a picture of it. I probably should have taken a screenshot, but I didn't. And it's the Justice Department. So, I mean, you know, people do have questions, legitimate questions about the date of his disappearance that law enforcement is not answering. And because of that, they can't sit here and say that, you know, these things are untrue when they won't answer them. Because on this right here, this is the endangered. This is from the official. This is from an official source. This is from TBI, an official source. This is the original one that I downloaded from TBI.com. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, whether this is the legitimate one that needs to be passed around. I can promise you this is the legitimate one that needs to be passed around, okay? And up here, it says February 26th. But see, this is where a lot of people are having problems, and this is where conflicting information coming, because this is also another reliable source. What you're looking at here, and I know it's probably a little backwards for you. Let me pull up closer so you guys can see it. I know this is a little backwards for you, but this is the Justice Department missing persons reporting system. The United States Justice Department also has a reporting system, and he's in there. And in this one, it shows him as not being reported missing or missing since February 25th at 10 p.m. So we've got two official reports, and the two official reports are contradicting themselves. So these are some major issues that people like me, you know, maybe armchair detectives, if you will, right, to satisfy a few. I don't consider myself an armchair detective, but I digress. Whatever. We have issues here. And we have issues with the date. And we know that this case took a major turn in direction, and we know that they collected a lot of video evidence. So was everything packaged differently? Do I believe that they have evidence of this boy either leaving or coming? I really don't know. I'm not any of these people. Eric Craddock is saying no, and there's somebody that went to the police department that talked to somebody other than Eric Craddock that said yes. So, you know, I know law enforcement, and when law enforcement, like one of their people under them, makes a mistake and tells something that they weren't supposed to tell, you know, They have to do damage control. I'm sorry. And I have to look at that because I do know these things exist. I've seen them before. And is Eric Craddock's latest statement damage control? Now, I'm not saying it is. But again, I have questions. I have legitimate questions. And it's pretty sad that one of my major questions is, when was this boy last seen? Because official sources are unclear. And I think that that is important, not only to me, not only to his family, but to everything in this case, because we're being fed two different pieces of information that are totally conflicting each other from two official sources. So that's one thing on its face that needs to be corrected, in my opinion, that could be corrected by, say, a press conference or a press release updating the public on exactly the factual information that law enforcement wants the public to know. Right? Why are we guessing when they can have their secretary write up a factual statement of everything they want the public to know to date about this case? Is it going to generate questions? I would presume so. That's why I think a press conference would be the most simplest way to die some of this down. And once they get that press conference out of the way, maintaining a good public relation would alleviate a lot of the pressures that they're getting from their community and from outside influences. So I think that there is something here. Now, we do have this vigil going on tomorrow, starting at 4 p.m. If anybody is out in the area or anybody would like to come in to support the family, support Sebastian, support Sebastian's army, you're more than welcome to come. It starts at 4 p.m. It's going to be at Rutter's, and that's at 128, I think, River Road. I don't want to give up. Yep, 128 River Road. They're meeting there at 4. It's going to be kind of, everybody's kind of hang out and socialize. You know, I'm absolutely confident Seth is there, and you guys could give him your love and your support. Give him a hug. You know, let him know we're here for him. Let him know we're fighting for him. Let him know, you know, if you're in the area, if you have a motorcycle, you want to be part of the motorcade over to the high school, you know, join in. Join in. No, it's going on. It's been planned a while. They already got 300 people signed up. They're trust me, when you have this many people signed up for a motorcade, it's going forward. Whether people, it doesn't even matter at that point. Even if the organizers shut it down, 300 people, you got yourself a motorcade, whether you want one or not. You know. Kim, this is for Sebastian Rogers, the 15-year-old missing autistic boy from Hendersonville, Tennessee. They're having a ride, a vigil, and a cookout in his honor. This case has really taken a turn for the worst, I will be honest with you. I haven't seen a case like this. People tried to compare it to the Summer Wells case. The Summer Wells case paled in comparison to this case and everything that's going on in this case for whatever reason. But this family is, at least Seth, you know, you got to understand, Seth went from thinking he was about to get his son and about to start, you know, living life full-time with his son to having none. I can't imagine that roller coaster in and of itself of having the joy of finally, you know, he was a father. He raised that. You hear the stories of Katie going off to the Navy. Excuse me, I'm having a problem speaking this morning. Going off to the Navy and him staying home and being a stay-at-home dad with his son, his medically needy son. And that bond he must have grown with his son, and how traumatic that must have been whenever they got a divorce and Katie took his son, and then having to now trust his son, this boy that he raised, in the care of his ex and this new guy named Chris, and then to find out that your son was hurt in a very wrong way, and you're just sitting there helpless, and you lose your cool, and of course it gets splattered all over a court document that people pick up and run with. And meanwhile, you just want the best for your son. Over time, things settle down. It seems like you got a good system going. Everybody's working the way it should be working. He's going to school. Everything's functioning as it should. They have this split, child custody arrangement. There's not a fighting. There's no child support problems going on here. Everybody's taking care of and doing their part and coming together. If things need to be had, money needs to be had, they all come together and make it happen. Seems like they are functioning well. And then all of a sudden, things are starting to poke their ugly head, and the stepfather approaches him and says, look, we're really struggling with your son. Your son's becoming too much of a handful. It's really causing major marital problems for me and Katie. I really need you to take your son, and we'll take him. We'll just reverse the schedule. You keep him mostly, and we'll get him the every other weekend in the summer vacation. And so Seth is, this is the first time he's going to be able to live with his son, which is what he's always wanted to do since he took care of his son when he was a baby. And so he's excited about this. The minute he finds out that he's getting his son, he runs to the school. He gets his school stuff set up. He does what he needs to do to get his son, and getting everything ready for his son, talking about whether he's going to be there for the homeschooling aspects, so he can, go through the homeschooling for a year, because he is autistic, and major changes for an autistic person is it can be traumatic for them. Many people here I know you guys have autistic children. So it seemed like Seth was really thoughtful in understanding his son and understanding what major shock it would be from him changing from one school to another school and having new people to adjust to. So he wanted to do the online school first for a year to kind of transition him into regular school. It seems smart to me, but it seems like there was some problems. Sebastian really, according to what Chris said and what Seth did sound like he confirmed a little bit, is that Sebastian really didn't want to do the online school. It's no big deal. They would have adjusted. They would have made, found something that worked, I'm sure. But it didn't seem like it was a major contention issue. But at the end of the day, things were being set up for Sebastian to go there. And then all of a sudden, he's getting off work like every normal day. And his probably, as you can imagine, he's probably got several phone calls on his phone. And he's probably saying, oh shit, what's going on? And sees the voicemail message or calls them right back. I know when I see one person call me a couple times, I don't even listen to the voicemail. I just call them right back because I know it's important. So it makes you wonder, he walks out and then he finds out, and the first thing that Chris says is, don't be mad, but Sebastian is missing. That's what Chris told Seth. Don't be mad, Sebastian's missing. And I don't think even then Seth ever imagined he would be sitting here right now. So he immediately gets in his truck. He leaves straight from his job and heads directly over to Katie's house. And when he gets there, Kathy is already there. Kathy is Katie's mother-in-law, Chris Proudfoot's mom, and she's already there. One thing that Seth was noticing is the house is immaculate, but Sebastian's room is, from what I'm understanding, trashed. It sounds like trashed. So, even Smiley said, is it normal? Because from what people say is that autistic people have to have a major organization. But I don't know if that was the case with Sebastian, because it sounded like him cleaning up after himself was a contentious issue for the Proudfoots and Sebastian, because they've made, comments that if he doesn't clean, they have to pack up his stuff and throw it away in the garbage can and stuff like that, which I think is pretty traumatic for somebody with autism and all of his medical issues as well as his disabilities. So, we have all of these things going on in addition to a 3-hour conversation the night before. And I don't know, it seems like everybody has asked Katie, do you normally have a 3-hour conversation? But I don't ever remember hearing a response about that question. Was it this normal and customary for them to have this 3-hour conversation at night? Because it just seems all odd to me that you have these strange phenomenons leading into that evening and into the next morning. So something doesn't sit right with the whole story and how Sebastian disappeared. Peter Hyatt believes that, there were people that said that there were things going on there. I don't know. Nobody else has come forward to corroborate it. But Peter Hyatt believes, because they keep saying out the front door, out the front door, out the front door, that he feels like they must have put him out the front door, like as a punishment. I think that they could not explain any other way for him to go out because all of the doors and windows are locked. This is a home that 2 retired Navy people live in. Their home is secured, if nothing more. So I don't think they had any other explanation because they couldn't show an intruder. If they can't show an intruder, they have to have him willingly leaving, and there's only one way he could have willingly left. Because if there's no intruder and he didn't willingly leave, that's leaving Katie and Katie alone. So I think the front door is a distraction from the back door or garage. Yeah, I believe they took him out the garage. And I think that's why the shoes are at the house, is because that's the one thing that they couldn't, or they forgot. It's the one thing that they forgot. So the garage is key. Yep. I think the mattress is key, but I think it's key for a different reason. I'm not sure how I feel about Sebastian sleeping in the garage. That's just too bizarre for me at this moment, based on an anonymous person calling into a show. It's just, you see what I'm saying? So I'm not quite there yet, but I feel like this mattress, there was a reason why Nancy Grace asked them about furniture. She already knew the answer to that question before she asked them. I don't know how. Well, I do know how. She's Nancy Grace, and she's got 30 years in the biz and a lot of sources, anonymous sources, that trust her over their years together and know that she will keep them out and know that they can trust her to tell her stuff that they wouldn't tell anybody else. So she knew what she was. I know, I've watched Nancy for years. She is one of my idols. She knew the answer to that question. And so she knows why she asked it. I don't. And that's what bothers me, is she knows why she asked it and I don't. And I think it's key. So that's kind of where we're at here. I don't know if any of this is helping find Sebastian. Maybe I'm hoping it's, just doing all this stuff can spark people's thoughts, maybe theories. Maybe you guys have suggestions of what happened. Maybe somebody knows somebody that knows one of these players in this case that can give us, an edge of behavior. Who is this? Who are these people? What are their normal, this is the problem we have so far. We have no normal behavior people on, that have come forward for them, right? So what do I mean by that? We've had no friends that have interviewed on their behalf or told us how wonderful these people are or how disgruntled they are. We have nobody on the record really that's willing to come belly to belly like this and give an interview about their business dealings or, you know, they're all on the phone. I like to see the people. I like to be able to fact check, you know. Some people need, you know, are wanting to be anonymous, but I mean, for the most part, if you can call in a show and tell them your full name and don't mind being not anonymous, then certainly you can come up on a screen and show your face. We can even block you out, but I want to fact find some stuff, you know. But there's been people that have said some things, but I want the corroborated information to come out. You know, did people see this mattress in the garage? Did they witness him being sprayed down with a pressure cleaner, or was it really just a hose that somebody now made into this huge pressure cleaner that could have sliced him in half? You know, I mean, okay, you guys know it's social media. Is it really that hard of a stretch to believe something like that would happen? Not for me. Not for me. Oh, good Lord. And also, guys, I talked to, actually, Terry Lynn called into my show, my YouTube show yesterday, to talk about Sebastian and how their search efforts are going. And she says they could really use more searchers out there. If you guys know Terry Lynn, you can go search her in the true crime community area of YouTube. Just type in Terry Lynn if you need to, Terry Lynn True Crime, and talk to her. Reach out to her by email. She gave me her email address yesterday. I don't have it right in front of me right now, but she says she's willing to talk to anybody by email. And all you have to do is email her, but she could really use help out there searching. If anybody has, you know, a few free hours someday next week, if you guys want to help, if you want to do your part, it sounds like these ladies are, you know, they do their job and are a bunch of fun and just like to chat and search, right? Chat and search. So if you're down and you're close, sounds like a plan. You know, make a day of it. Get out and if nothing more, get some fresh air. I hear Tennessee's beautiful, right? So you can search and be in natural beauty while you search, right? Get some fresh air. Get some fresh air. So, guys, that's really it. For those that are just coming in, I just wanted to give you guys some updates. Elijah Vu, he's a 3-year-old child from Two Rivers, Wisconsin. The search efforts have not ceased. They have not prevented EquiSearch from coming in there. They've been working with a lot of search groups in an effort to find this 3-year-old boy right here. The last proof of life for him was February 16th around 3 p.m. It is stated that on the 16th he was left in a car, in a very, very cold car, never seen again. So it sounds like the 16th might have been the day. However, he was not reported missing until February 20th, some 4 days later. Madalena Kojikari is a 13-year-old girl that disappeared from Cornelius, North Carolina. She was last seen exiting her school bus on November 21st, 2022 in the afternoon, and her mom states she has not been seen since that Sunday, November 23rd, around 10 p.m. People are still looking for her. Sounds like her mom's still behind bars. Her stepfather, Chris Palmiter, is out. Doesn't look like a good guy to me, but that's just looks. This is her mother. Her mother's still behind bars. He's out, and they still have not found her yet. So that's kind of the round out for an update on your cases, as well as some more diving into Sebastian Rogers, a 15-year-old boy that disappeared from his home in Hendersonville, Tennessee, and has not been seen or heard from since. And Katie and Chris, you know, I've got questions. And for law enforcement, again, I've got questions. And it doesn't seem like anybody's willing to help, but everybody's willing to point the finger at social media and say it's social media's fault. But is it? Is it really? All right, guys, God bless. Take care. We'll see you soon. Rock it out with your coffee beans out. God bless.